Hello and welcome to another episode of the Making It in Asheville podcast. This is your friendly neighborhood podcast where each week we sit down with an Asheville local. We ask them what they are making and how they are making it. This is a very special season focused entirely on e-commerce businesses, retailers, sellers of things and stuff. And in this episode, we're joined by a very special guest with a very cool or hot product, depending on what you put in it and what you care about. Brandajay of Pirani is here to talk about all things e-commerce and business. Welcome to the podcast, Brandajay.
Thank you so much. I'm pretty excited to be here. This is a pretty beautiful setup you guys got going on, and thanks for having us.
Thank you so much, and thank you to the sponsor, Ernest Co-Warehousing, who kind of is hosting us here today. But the real cool thing and the real beautiful space are these tumblers that I keep seeing all over Asheville. If you could, I'll call it like a tweetable, tell us a little bit about what Pirani's up to today, and then we can go back and kind of flesh out the whole story and talk about the future.
Sure. So I'm excited, by the way, that you said that you see our product all over Asheville, because a year ago we had a goal to kind of become an Asheville brand. And I put air quotes, not because we're not an Asheville brand, but because it's something that we were trying to achieve. And I think you're getting close there.
You're not already there.
Yeah.
I mean, so originally founded in Florida.
In Fort Lauderdale, yep.
Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah.
You've been here over a year, or did you just about a year?
So we moved here almost exactly 3 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And about 2021 January is kind of when we more or less went full-time with Pirani. I mean, we were full-time with it, but that's really when we took off. And so then we spent a year without being in the community in Asheville. And then we got connected. And since we've been connected, it's been, 16 months. And it's been really, really helpful for sure.
Well, it's working. Talk quickly about primarily the flagship products. What are we thinking about when we think about Pirani?
Yeah. So our first product, imagine a Yeti and a red Solo cup had a baby. That's kind of like the easiest way for me to spell it out, So
great.
We don't have a red product with us on camera, but our original was the red Solo cup look.
Great point. If you're not watching on YouTube, we welcome you to join us on YouTube. Podcast is great. But this in red would look almost identical to a red Solo cup.
Exactly.
Much heavier. But even the line markings, when you think Solo as the brand, which all these years later, after doing a little bit of homework on Pirani, talk to us about what those lines mean.
Yeah, so those lines are standard measurement lines. So it's 1, 2, 5, 8, 12, and then to the top of the cup is 16 ounces. So, yep.
And who would have guessed all these years later that I thought those were just for grip?
Yeah, no, I when we started the company, I did a bunch of research and ended up, obviously learning at the same time, I think, when I launched a company. So, or when me and my wife launched a company. So,
amazing.
You asked, so what we're doing, I was just going to say, so we got our hands on a lot of things right now. I actually just got back from a music festival that we vended at, and I say vended, we actually sold like 800 cups to the festival, and then they gave them out to their VIP. We got that contract through a partnership with Live Nation. So we actually have deals with Live Nation right now, which is great. We've got another concert that we're doing in October. We did four other concerts earlier this year, and that's one portion of our business. I mean, that's I say small, that's like a small to medium part of our business right now. Wow. So, yeah.
I remember seeing on social media your Shania Twain holding one of the Pirani tumblers on stage and thinking, wow.
Yep. We had Miranda Lambert also. She was making mixed drinks on stage in Virginia Beach, which was pretty exciting too, for sure. So, yeah.
Okay.
And so then we also sell to retail stores. So we have, I think we're at almost 600 retail stores that sell our product. Mostly Southeast, Midwest. We don't have much on the West Coast yet. And then on our website, of course, that's about 10 to 15% of our business as well.
Interesting. Yeah. Excuse me. I assumed that direct retail from your website wouldn't have been maybe more than half the business at this point, but wholesale definitely the lion's share, and then these big events as a big part as well.
Yep. And then we do a ton of promotional products. So if an attorney wants to order something for their employees, we do a lot of stuff like that as well. So
and that's kind of where I've seen you in Asheville so far. I mean, retail, sure.
Yep.
But also, like I have sort of duct taped this glass, this tumbler to become a Making It in Asheville plus sticker version, but you do offer like leather, I'm saying laser engraving.
Yep. So we do it two different ways. So like we also sell to retail stores. So like we sell to Mass General, or not Mass General, we do sell there, but we sell to the Biltmore. And so like Biltmore has custom branded Biltmore tumblers. And then, so we have bunch of different channels. We're gonna start expanding into a few other channels probably in January, but that's kind of the majority of where our business comes from right now.
Very interesting, very exciting. There's a million directions that I want to take us. Where I'll start is maybe we go back to the idea, right? Because there's a couple things about your specific tumbler and product that I particularly like.
Yep.
And I imagine most people do. Two of them, and they're kind of top when I think of what you're marketing about the product looks like. They're right there. One, stackable.
Yep.
Right. So like a red Solo cup, they fit inside of each other.
Yep. Exactly.
Which is kind of a duh. Like why hasn't this been a thing?
Yeah. No. Absolutely. Well, so that's one of our big selling points for sure. Something that we only recently, probably within the past like 2-3 months, we kind of noticed is our cup, when you're using it, it doesn't feel like a vacuum insulated cup. It just feels like a cup. So it's not thick. We've always said that it's, really thin walls, but explaining it that way, saying it just feels like a cup. Like you don't pick it up and say, oh, this is a vacuum insulated tumbler. You just say, this is just a cup. So they're a lot lighter weight, a lot thinner walls, but they still do keep your drinks cold for 12 hours, hot for 6 hours. So that's another big, and that one is a little harder. So like we just started doing some social media advertising, which we haven't done in like 2 years. And one of the big selling things is the stackability, because that's easy. Like you look at it and you say it's stackable. Yeah. No one needs to think about it. What does it mean? It's stackable.
And I get your ads. I've been tagged.
No.
You have.
Sorry.
You've tagged me somehow, which is great. And visually, you can say it and it makes sense. But then visually, when you see someone's cupboard that looks like mine does, if I'm being honest, with just tons and tons of individual glasses all near each other, a couple Yetis, a couple of these, a couple of those, and then the before and after, and the resolution of like there's 8 glasses stacked. It's clean, it's simple, there's so much more space.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's a super easy one for people to understand. Some of the other things like the lightweight, it's harder to sell that because you don't like look at it. That needs to be tangible. You need it in your hand. So we get, I think 30% of our customers on our website are repeat customers because they buy one, they love it, they buy another one.
Yeah.
I
get that. The other thing is the fit on your lid is insane.
Yeah.
Like the tolerance, like it has to be open to put it on.
It does. Yeah. So we actually there's a couple features around the lip of the cup that we have that are patented right now. So that's one of the things that we have protected as well. So, yeah.
So, okay. So those two things I'm flagging as great concepts, seemingly wonderfully executed, right? It's one thing to go, all right, I got an idea. We're going to do a red Solo cup times a Yeti, and it's going to be this cool thing. And, lid sort of sucks. So let's make the lid somehow better. What next? Right? This is one thing to have it on, be at a bar, write it on a napkin, have this dream. What happened next?
Yeah. So we're like I mentioned, we're from Fort Lauderdale. And so me and my wife lived a block away from the beach. Is actually a town called Lauderdale by the Sea. And every day we would go to the beach. I mean, every day we would go to the beach regardless because it was a block away. But it was very, very common for us to see litter. People come in, they party. a lot of the time they were from out of town and they don't really understand how beaches work, I guess. I don't know. A lot of spring breakers. It was really bad then. And so we would often do cleanups on our beach and we would always see red Solo cups. And so at the same time, I was working for a company. I used to work for Mr. Coffee and Crock-Pot designing products. And then when I was living a block from the beach, I was working for a company that manufactured scientific equipment. And so I was learning all kinds of stuff, but one of the things I was learning a lot about was vacuum insulation. And so randomly at the time, the company that I was working for, they were using these big glass dewars, which a dewar is just a fancy version of an insulated tumbler. And they would use it to hold liquid nitrogen, but they had like 30% of the products that they would ship to customers would break because it was glass.
Yeah.
And so I was like, why don't we switch to stainless steel? And they're like, oh, well, how does it work? And so I started playing around and then my head said, hey, we see all this trash. I should make my own version that would be a vacuum. So I got it. I ordered a sample from the factory. I ended up paying for the tooling. And at first my wife was like, I don't understand. I fought really, really hard. And so for those of you that can't see, because you are listening only, there's a rolled lip. So I wanted that rolled lip because that's what red Solo cups have.
I do. They have
and
it.
If you don't have a red Solo cup with a rolled lip, then I don't know what the heck you have.
It's a knockoff.
It's
some store brand.
Yeah, it's not
plastic
good.
cup.
And so I fought really, really, really hard for the factory to manufacture that. And so my wife was like, what does it matter? Who cares? No one has it. So we were using a Hydro Flask at the time. They have no one had a rolled lip. And so I fought. I finally got it. We got the sample in, and within 2 days, my wife's like, I get it. And so she's been on board literally since day 2 with the product, of course. And so, and then we launched on Kickstarter. We spent about a month and a half kind of building the Kickstarter campaign, video, all that stuff. Neither of us have ever done anything
like it.
Yeah. Like I said, my background's design. Her background was design, and she used to work for Royal Caribbean, so design and project management. And somehow we went from that to running a business.
Wow.
And Kickstarter was a good way to do it. It was definitely chaotic because we had no idea what the heck we were doing. We didn't know for the first 2 years really, but we got it now. So we kind of have it under control. So
I want to double click on a couple of the things immediately. Having a concept. So you're already set up to know how to build something like this in whatever program, CAD, right? Something like it.
I had 2 3D printers at the time. So before we started Pirani, I've built 3D printers of my own for, I don't know, I've been 3D printing stuff for 20 years, 15 years. So
wow. Okay. So sort of a perfect storm. You're not just some Joe Schmo off the street with a concept.
Exactly. Yeah.
If you were to try and explain, as you know, at a high level, to how to take a concept and try and find, you already had a factory, I imagine, due to the relationships in past businesses. Where would one go to try and make something out of steel?
So
this is stainless steel.
It's stainless steel, yeah. So I actually didn't have connections with factories, and that was, believe it or not, a challenge because when you work at a company like Mr. Coffee, you're one small segment of a very large moving piece. Yeah. And so when they said, Brandon J. Pierce, you are an industrial designer at Mr. Coffee, that's what I am. Yeah. And so we had a sourcing person. We had a sourcing team. Yeah. We had an auditing team for the factory. There was 7 layers between me and the factory. And actually, I communicated with the factory every day when I was there, but there were 7 layers between me designing a product and it getting manufactured. So I worked with them once the factory was established and all that, and that's fine, that's easy. So I had a lot of challenges. Our first 2.5, 3 years, we were working with one factory, and there were hundreds of times that it almost put us out of business because during COVID, and I get COVID made some challenges, but there was a time I put a purchase order in with our factory, and it should be 45 days from purchase order to ship. We didn't get the product. I put it in, I think maybe August, and I got the product in February.
Holy smokes.
Yeah. And so we at that time, I actually was already working with another factory, but they weren't up and running. Yeah. And so, so it was challenging. But one of the things I always tell everyone that's interesting is know what you're good at, right? So my background is industrial design. So I'm good at industrial design. We have done graphic design and branding for a long time. So we were really good at that. And that's good to get the company where it was. Unfortunately, we did have to learn every single thing the hard way. So neither of us have ever worked in sales, and sales are very important for a business. And so I always tell people, if you're not an industrial designer and you have an idea, you can spend 200 hours learning how to 3D model.
Poorly.
I've been doing it for 15 years, 3D modeling. So you could learn how to 3D model to get your product point across, or you could just put it on a fingernail sketch and find someone and pay them, I don't know, $500 to bring it to realization. And it's a way better use of money. And so like I did all of our Shopify development when we first started. And albeit I still understand how it works, and I do a fair amount of coding myself now. I mean, let me rephrase that. I am dangerous enough with coding to get things done and understand what's happening, but I'm not going to write code anymore. And I wish I knew that back then as well. So yeah, I always tell people, know what you're good at and leverage that the best. And when you first start, you got to do, you need to be multiverse in as much as you can. Like, don't just say, oh, I am a, I don't know, email graphic designer. You're not going to start a company though. So do as much as you can, of course, but like if you are a CPA and you've never opened up a 3D program, maybe that's not the time to open a program. Just let someone else who's really good at it do it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I mean, that makes a lot of sense to me when thinking about building specifically a product, right? So you find a factory. I imagine yours is overseas.
It is,
with that
yeah. So all vacuum insulated tumblers are made within a 50-mile radius in China, basically. Yeah, that's crazy.
Okay. So, do you have any I mean, I guess this could be at the end of the episode with fear-based stuff and what the future holds. Like, are there other vacuum tumblers that have this aesthetic today that like alarm you, or is this not that crazy?
So yes and no. I'll go into a little bit of detail. So when we launched on Kickstarter's a great platform.
Yeah, and notorious quick copies that make it to market often before the actual product.
And so there was this one company. Am I supposed to call people out or not call people out?
You're welcome to. I don't know if they'll listen. Are they local?
No, okay. They're not local. They're in, I don't know, Oregon or something.
Yeah, Spokane. Let's go for them.
Yeah.
Go for the throat.
So their company is called Wild Gear, and that's what they do. They're knockoffs. So like if you go to their website, they launched their product 4 months after we launched our product. So that means they saw our Kickstarter. Theirs doesn't have a good rolled lip. They basically did it the cheapest way possible, the easiest way possible. Their product just doesn't feel. Long story short, it's not. I wouldn't be happy with it as a designer, and so we saw that, but we didn't find out about them until probably almost a year after we launched. And someone tagged us on social media and said, "I love Wild Gear so much better." And I was like, "What the hell?" And we found it, and me and my wife went crazy. We're like, "What the heck's going on? Oh my god!" And then we found out, and then at the time, this was still before we were. I mean, we're not a big company. We're a small company, but we were a much smaller company. We were like, we're going to go out of business. So I don't know. And now there's another company that kind of copied us who probably will have a bigger impact on our business. It affects my wife a lot more than me. Yeah. I am very much in the lane of move fast and break things.
Do our thing.
Do our thing. I mean, be aware of our competition and try to mitigate as much as you can. So like we have a new product launching in October. Patent application is already filed. It's going to be hard for someone to do too much. It's a pretty cool product. I have another product that I'm going to launch. I mean, this is probably like 2 years. I'm going to put the patent application in, in the next 6 months because there's no reason not to. So there's two different business models. Some people don't care about patents and they don't do anything. And some people do. And I'm a bigger advocate. Some of it's worthless because some of it's hard to defend, but it's still good to have as much protection as you can.
Sure.
So, yeah.
Especially, we've... Hello. Are you watching on YouTube, listening on your favorite podcast player? If you're not on YouTube, perhaps consider it, because behind us, you would notice that we are in an absolutely beautiful space, and that space is our season sponsor, Earnest Ready-Made Warehousing. And so if you're not familiar with Earnest, it is fantastic. I am joined here by my wife, Sarah Ubertaccio, founder of QB Cucina and one of Ernest's newest clients.
Yeah, excited to be back on the podcast.
Great to have you back. Episode 110 if you haven't listened before. But what we want to talk about today is why you chose Ernest and what makes Ernest stand out, let's say, compared to finding a new office space in town to fulfill from. As a very high level, Ernest is a 30,000 square foot facility on Sweeten Creek, just south of Asheville. Huge facility, beautiful facility. Why did you choose to go with Ernest instead of any other place in Asheville?
Yeah, well, I have a small growing business, e-commerce. We sell pasta tools and Italian kitchenware. And we currently outgrew the space that we were in and really needed a different kind of space. And so I love Ernest. I love the fact that as we grow, Ernest can scale with us. So they have different sized co-warehousing spaces. So if we grow bigger, we can just quickly move over to a different space within the same building, which is a really huge time saver. I also really love that they have daily, sometimes multiple times a day, pickups from UPS, FedEx, and USPS. So we don't have to worry about packages getting lost or stolen, and our team doesn't have to drop them off at the post office. And it just saves us all a bunch of time and headache. And also they have temperature controlled rooms, which for a business like us, one of our products is pasta flour. It's really sensitive to temperature. It's really, really important for us to make sure that our products are secure and not getting damaged while they're being stored in our warehouse. And I love all the other amenities. They have a photography studio so we can quickly photograph our products. They have a full break room. They have co-working space that we're able to use for our meetings with team members and other people that may come to see us. And then just the sense of community, being around other small businesses is something that we currently don't have. And I'm really, really looking forward to connecting with others here.
I love that. ErnestReady.com if you've not visited that before, or you can check out makingitinasheville.com/Ernest. And we have a bunch of information about the partnership we've built for this season, as well as some perhaps special discounts and incentives. If you happen to be a e-commerce business or the right fit for Ernest, you should definitely check out makingitinasheville.com/Ernest, ERNEST. And back to the episode. We, in pre-conversation, noted that a Shark Tank type situation was on the horizon or was in consideration.
Yeah.
And so there's at least one shark who always asks, do you have IP? Like, is it defensible? If not, what's the point? And so in a lot of ways, it is as important as you want it to be. And especially if you're moving fast and saying like, hey, we're just going to win and focus on what we can focus on.
Yeah. Well, something that helps us. So
doing both makes sense.
Yeah. And that's how I feel. Yeti and Ozark Trail are the same product.
Yeah.
And no, that's not true. Yeti and Ozark Trail are the same physical product, but one has a brand behind it.
Exactly.
And that brand's worth $6 billion.
That's exactly
And
right.
so our goal is to build our brand so that people know Pirani and people want Pirani and they'll pay for Pirani.
Yeah.
And so we've spent a lot of time working really hard. These music festivals we work with, we do sponsorships with them. So one thing that we're really, really passionate about is we will never do white label. You know what white label? Mm-hmm. Okay.
But talk about it.
So for the audience, there's a difference between like co-branding and white labeling. Co-branding is our logo is on the cup at all times, and then potentially, Nike. Well, actually, North Face ordered some, so I'll go North Face. Yeah, so North Face will order, 500 cups. So it'll say Pirani on one side, on the bottom it'll say Pirani, the box will say Pirani, but it is co-branded with North Face. And so that's one way. The other way is they just reach out and they say, hey, I just want a cup that says North Face. I don't want it to say Pirani. And the problem with that is you lose all branding. So we'll never do that. I mean, we've been approached by some really, really we've had probably some couple $100,000 purchase orders be dangled in front of our face. And we're like, sure, it's great because we get a little money, but then what happens after that? So we've always said no and always been very, very passionate to make sure we only do co-branding with people. So, yeah.
I love that as a strategy. I think that makes a lot of sense. And, there are, bend, don't break kind of situations where it's like, hey, listen, like we'll do some of this at a discount. We'll do this at like better than normal margins. We understand that you guys are North Face.
Yep.
And so that's not lost on us.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not lost on us, but that's not.
We have one
don't do that.
customer. Do you know RV Share?
Yeah.
So they own, I don't know.
It's huge.
They're huge.
Huge.
So they want to order, and we reached out to them,
Yeah.
and they don't really have a reason to put Pirani in other than it makes their customer, but they're not a cup rental.
Right.
So my goal was to like outfit their there. And so they said, well, you could either white label them for this price, or you can sell them to us branded for this price. And I was like, man, that's a big difference in price. But I was like, then there's no equity. There's no reason for us to doing it. So we're opting to do. So hopefully in the next, I don't know, 8 months, if you rent an RV, it will have a Pirani tumbler, stack of 4 Pirani tumblers in the RV. So
sick.
Yeah.
Will they get to walk away with them?
No, so it's just like a rental package. That's kind of our plan.
Yeah.
So we do stuff like that where we, if you own 20 Airbnbs, how do I outfit your Airbnb? And our goal is not necessarily to like make a ton of money.
Sure.
But
just be everywhere.
Just be everywhere.
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah.
Dang. Okay. How did the Kickstarter go? I in doing homework, I've been on your Kickstarter page. I can't remember. I know it was funded.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the success of the Kickstarter?
Yeah. So we were 400% funded. At the time I was like, we're going to do $1 million because that's what you see. Everyone only sees the 0.1%. And so I don't think I had realistic goals, but I was like, how do we get $1 million?
Sure.
Anyways, no, we were $33,000 funded.
Great.
And the thing that's really exciting is last year we did a kind of soft Kickstarter. We did it like in-house with our bigger tumbler. We didn't make a video. We didn't do any ads.
But pre-order type of execution.
Pre-order. Yep. We did it on our website. So we did a pre-order on our website, and we did more on our website with the pre-order of the big cup with 2 emails, basically.
Wow. That's awesome.
And so we're at the product that we're launching in October is going to be significant enough. And we're doing it the right way. Like we're making a video, we're doing the ads, we're doing the whole kit and caboodle. So we're setting a goal. I think we're going to set the goal at like $25,000 or something like that. I'm hoping that we could do $250,000 or $300,000, and I think we can. Like I think it's realistic.
Help me understand some of your audience dynamics. What does your email list look like today?
So we sell to a lot of people in the Southeast, so a lot of retail stores. And one of the things that we do, we have a method to getting basically people for them to register that buy it in store. So we have a ton of people that bought our product in stores. Every music festival we go to, we capture, I think it's 70% of all the emails of the people that got our product.
No way.
Yeah, and this year alone we've sold
through your register the product.
No, we do something different at the festivals. So we go there, we vend, and then we have a method to basically get people to come to our booth. We work with the bars, things like that, and so. I have a question. Yeah.
Are you open to, is it like field proprietary or something?
It's not field proprietary.
I mean, that 70% hit rate is exceptional for in person.
So we basically sell the cups to the festivals for cost or close to cost. And then they give us a free booth. And then we give out free lids if they sign up on our email list.
So that is a
loss leader.
Free with order, free with purchase is a very common sales add-on that I've seen a lot of people do, like end cap type stuff at Whole Foods. You'll see sometimes promotions like free with purchase, but you have to do something. Yep. Really smart. Cool.
Yeah. So that's worked out really well.
Yeah. And the cap, goodness gracious, best cap in the game. That's not hyperbolic yet. Like, these caps are so tight that with steamy hot coffee, sometimes the steamy hot can like push them off.
Yeah. So we one of the things that we're doing is like these 2 cups, this is our 16 and our 26 ounce. They share the same lid.
Yeah.
Our new product is going to share the same lid. And then one of the things that we're going to be doing in the next 12 months is we're actually going to come up with a series of different tops. So depending on what you're doing, all cups will fit the same top. All tops will fit the same cups. So you're not going to have 12 cups with 17 different lids. And so we're going to have it, very, very easy for people to say, I grab a cup and I grab a lid and I don't have to worry about it fitting. So
cannot wait. Awesome. Okay. So list building is a thing that you've been proactive in and put a lot of consideration in, especially knowing that, let's just say loosely, 80% of the business is not from your website, which when people shop from the website, you have at least their transaction-based email address, whether or not it's their, AOL from 100 years ago. It is a way to get in contact.
Yep. And we just started SMS too, so same thing.
Smart.
Yeah.
Okay. And so you've been accruing audience size from the beginning Kickstarter, e-commerce, and now these live events. What do you use for wholesale retail? Is it just like register for warranty purposes? That's kind of a common play.
We do free sticker, and we actually give out a wooden sticker. So it's like, we should test whether or not we need to give out a wooden sticker or not. But it's so like everything that we do, like a perfect example, like these music festivals, we're going to be, we're doing another one in October. I don't know if we'll have it by then, but we're going to get a couple other accessories that we want to sell at these music festivals because every single show we do, people ask us.
As an example, like one of the accessories on the website is like a
so we sell the handles.
So just giving people instead of tops, like here are some of the other accessories I've seen is like kind of a lanyard based nylon string handle carry
called the adventure handle. Yes,
the adventure handle. Awesome.
But we got some like custom made. like 10 custom made Pirani branded sombrero hats, like they're called lifeguard hats.
Yeah.
And so I can order them very, very easily from a few factories, but the quality is garbage. Or maybe it's not garbage, but it's not up to our standards. And so even if it's something that's not a core part of our business, like we make products that are meant to last forever. So we're, everything about our brand is encouraging sustainability, reducing single-use impact. We're members of 1% for the planet, which means 1% of all of our sales are donated. Our goal is to make products that last. And so even things like the hat that we're making, I want it to last forever. And I know that's never going to happen because it's going to be made of straw, but if it can last 5 years versus 4 weeks,
5 weeks, yeah.
So that's kind of our hopes and dreams with anything that we do. So,
I love that. Are you, is there a future where you want to be a B Corp?
We will. It's a hard process.
Hurdle, yeah.
We're a real small company still. We've done a couple of the things. So like we're Prop 65 compliant, which is, something that we need, I'd imagine.
Which to the listener, California Prop 65 stuff.
Yeah. So all it is basically saying, like California kind of dictates what your products are, what they have in them, what they don't have in them, if they basically pass or don't pass a safety. And it's probably more strict than things like even the FDA might have or whatever. And so we have, like, we're working with Toyota. They order cups it's the Southeast Toyota division. And so when you start working with these bigger clients, we've had conversations with Disney, we've had conversations with some big companies, and they are very, very strict about the social impact and regulations and certifications and things like that. So last year it was like $10,000 to get Prop 65 compliant, and I was like, oh my God, we're going to spend all this money. What if we don't get a purchase order? We didn't get a specific purchase order from the customer, but it's paid for itself. And we're actually, now that we're launching into California, we have to be Prop 65 compliant anyway. So
yeah. Wow. Well, that's rad. Yeah, and B Corp is a very meaningful and arduous task of
it is
being a benefit corp, but 1% for the planet is also a stamp of intentionality that is remarkable.
It is. I think there's not enough people that probably understand yet the big benefits of one versus the other. And I can share briefly, certified B Corporation means you went through the ringer. You proved. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're giving back anything. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're doing, but it means that you are doing everything in your power. So like things that they probably would try to ping us. So we don't use any plastic in any of our packaging. that's the kind of stuff that Certified B Corporation wants. You know, we are very, very strict to air freight as few as possible, because the carbon impact of air freighting product versus shipping by boat is, I mean, it's probably 100 times. And so if we are air freighting 90% of our product, our carbon imprint is massive. And so those are the kinds of things. And then there's, you know, supply chain that they go into. Whereas 1% for the planet, if you wanted, anyone can sign up in probably a week or two, and they basically just say, how much money are you going to give to nonprofits? And I mean, it's a great program.
Yeah.
You know, something that most people don't understand, especially for smaller businesses, is 1% of sales. So last year, I think 1% of our sales equated to, what was that one? Probably 30% of profits.
Sure.
So the smaller the business, the bigger the number is, you know, but even like, I mean, a company that's doing $1 billion, they're probably, if they were 1% for the planet, they're probably giving up 8% of their profit.
Sure.
That's huge.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of money to give up. So
yeah, margins, especially in physical product, especially in physical product that leans heavily into wholesale.
Yes.
Right. You have very little of a pie to start handing out to begin with.
Yep.
So that's not lost on me. And also not lost on me is that half the process of becoming a certified B Corp is having the manpower to even go through the process of becoming a certified B Corp. And so a small team is not likely to be even capable of going through it. Whereas to your point, it's like, how much money did you make? Can you prove it? How much money did you donate? Can you prove it? Check, check. Cool.
Yeah.
You get a stamp.
And something that's also good is I encourage anybody that's starting a business, if they do want to do 1% for the planet, start it as soon as possible.
Build it into the model.
Because what happens is if you start a company today and in 3 years you're making money, and then all of a sudden you're like, hey, I want to be 1% for the planet. If you go from making, you know, common companies make anywhere between 12 and 18% profit. So if you're making 12 to 18% profit, and then all of a sudden you're like, hey, I'm going to give away 5% of my profit, it's really, really hard to do that after you've launched. Whereas we were losing money the first 2 years and still giving away money. So we've been 1% for the planet for, I think the first year we didn't, just because we didn't really know. But I think year 2 on, we've been 1% for the planet. So even when we were losing money, we were part of our loss was donating money. So I think it's really important if you do it. Whereas Certified B Corporation, it's just the time and the effort and the energy where it doesn't really affect the bottom line a ton.
Or so it can, but it's through a series of a ton of decisions that you've made. It's like, I can use a plastic top here, but we're going to use whatever material this is, which is probably recyclable. I have no idea, because it's a choice for quality and it's a choice for who the manufacturer is, and it's just choice. And so you're making tons of little choices and defending them in what feels like a, you know, doctoral thesis, right? And have people inspecting each and every choice and decision, and how far is the manufacturer, and why'd you choose this one versus that one? And I don't even know if that's actually the B Corp process, but that's what I understand it to be. It's close.
So I think by the end of next year we'll be certified B Corporation. So we have added a couple staff members this year, and next year we'll probably add 5 or 6 more. And we were chatting earlier before we started streaming about how there's so many different things in the company that I don't even know about because there's other people in the company. And so the more that happens, the more I'll be able to work on things like becoming a certified B Corporation. And so I'm not going to worry about, hey, did that order ship, or what's the customer want, or did they get their return, or did they get whatever. I'm going to try my best to deal with those types of things less and deal with the things like becoming a certified B Corporation. So
B Corp and sick product.
Yeah, exactly. and my background is design and loving. So like, I mean, if we're at a trade show and we're slow for like 5 minutes, I'm like, all right, what am I going to do? So I literally will start sketching ideas, because I'm, you know, at the trade show, I get inspired for sure, just because so many products around and so many companies and customer feedback and everything like that. And so I'll literally just sit and sketch. I sit and sketch all the time. If I'm on a plane and I'm like, all right, what I've thought about this random product. Like we went camping and I had a brilliant idea for a product that I'm going to launch in like 2 years. So yeah. So that'll never stop.
I can't wait to see these products. I mean, had you made anything else before this?
Yeah, I mean,
clearly Mr. Coffee and stuff,
yeah,
but like
so I was going to say
individually, independently, like had you ever 3D printed something and sold it on, at farmers markets or whatever?
No, I mean, every year I make Christmas ornaments.
Okay, cool.
And so I've been doing that for, I don't know, 5 or 6 years.
Okay.
And I just do it for friends and family. And every year in October, my friends and family start reaching out and they're like, what's this year's Christmas ornament? I'm like, you got to wait.
Yeah, you'll see.
What about this? I'm like, leave me the F alone. I'll make what I want.
Okay, so what made this particular idea, because it's clear that if you've been playing with 3D printing for 20 years, you've been making stuff. What made this one feel so much more real, so much more like necessary to go forward with?
So me and my wife, so she was working for Royal Caribbean, I was working for Mr. Coffee. Before we started Pirani, we met in February, and then in November of the same year, so 2013, we actually packed our bags and we went and traveled for a year and a half.
Wow.
And so we went all over the world, and we had all these plans of different companies to start and ideas. And, one of the things that was always part of our plan was doing something sustainable. And so, when we got back, I started working at the science company, and I always tinker. Like I always tinker. So like I was learning electrical engineering. I actually built a full-on product that we used in our bathroom for 6 months that eventually will launch. That's a much, much, much bigger project. Are you familiar with Lumi? Are you familiar with Pellicase?
Yeah.
So Lumi and Pellicase are kind of the equivalent of what Pirani and our other product will be. Not necessarily food related, but like very, very far reach. But I actually built this 6 years ago, 3D printed it, and it's just a huge, huge, huge undertaking. So anyways, so we've always wanted to start something. My wife was actually thinking about starting an eco-friendly swimsuit company. And so I started asking her questions about, everything, just because I was trying to help her. I've always been the one that helped source products, and she was like, nope, I don't really think I want to do this right now. And so at the same time, when she was thinking about doing that, that's when I got the samples made. And I think I also never spent a ton of money.
What is it? How much do you think you invested in samples to just see it in your hand?
So to get a physical sample, probably $5,000.
Okay.
Because there's tooling and then, going through different factories and getting their physical samples. So anywhere between $4,000 and $5,000. And then, so that was probably the most. I actually, before Pirani, I started a software company that never launched. It was a digital version of IKEA's instructions. Since IKEA's instructions are pathetic.
Yeah. Illustrations.
Yeah, and they're not the best.
Yeah.
I actually, it was called Construct It. I got a working prototype app. I spent about $10,000 actually doing that, but the developers couldn't get it where it needed, and they ended up refunding me all of my money. But I did. I paid $10,000. They got it 70% the way there, and that last 30% they just couldn't do what we needed, and so I just ended up calling it for now. But so that,
we interrupt this episode with a horror story, an e-commerce horror story that my wife Sarah Ubertaccio experienced. But I'm going to preface, she's not alone. You might be an e-commerce store owner. You might have a friend who's an e-commerce store owner, and this story is universal, though specific. Sarah, please take it away.
Yeah, well, I own a small business called QB Cucina, and we sell Italian pasta tools and kitchenware. And in our previous space where we were fulfilling from, one day my employee was packaging up a bunch of packages to ship via UPS, and UPS did not pick up from this location. And so she was going to package them up and take them out to the car and drive them to UPS. Well, it was raining raining a lot that day.
As it tends to here in Asheville.
Yes, as it tends to here in Asheville. And on her way, taking the dolly out to her car, some packages flew off the dolly, were soaking wet. She was soaking wet. And then she had to repackage them, like go back up to the office and repackage them because they were ruined and couldn't be shipped out. So, yeah.
And I'm so sorry to hear that story. That's a heartbreaker. Now you don't have to worry about that happening anymore because you work at Ernest Ready-Made Warehouse and they have daily pickups and deliveries from FedEx, UPS, and USPS.
Yes, it's like suddenly we have a valet and concierge at our fingertips, which is amazing. They have daily pickups from all the major shipping carriers, and they have a huge loading dock so we can receive our shipments very easily 24 hours of the day, every day of the week, which is amazing.
To learn more about Ernest Ready-Made Warehouse, visit makingitinasheville.com/Ernest, ERNEST. We have all sorts of information about this season, about our sponsor, Ernest Ready-Made, and offer a very special incentive for those of you who are small business owners in Asheville who could benefit from this facility. Back to the episode. You clearly have the stuff when it comes to making a product.
Yep.
Transition, you're like, there's a million things that we haven't done before. It seemed to me that there had to have been some sort of playground of skill acquisition, at the very least adjacent to what's happening right now.
Sure.
And boy, was I right. So we've talked briefly, but previously about running ads. Was that that couldn't have been your first swing at ad running?
Definitely not.
Okay.
I want to say something that's kind of entertaining, by the way. So we've been doing investor presentations, and one of the last slides is like your team. And so my slide and Danielle's slides say something clever to the extent of entrepreneurs since birth, because I sold grapefruits on the corner of the street when I was 9 years old, and she sold these little bean pods that she painted when she was about the same age. So we've always had some sort of like entrepreneur spirit for sure. So I know that's very random, but
no,
anyways.
I mean, it's A, on brand, and B, honestly, probably a really good indicator. Like when you think of, or when I think of the stories that stand out about I want to say his name's Joe Gebbia, but like one of the Airbnb founders is like, what things do they do to make a business work? How do they operate? How do they execute? And I can imagine that, like, hey, saw this opportunity as a way to like capture what looked like a lot of available value that the market had, so that the thing that we really cared about like could continue to grow at whatever pace it required. That's very compelling to me. And the Airbnb example is like they sold presidential candidate cereal concepps. Yeah, so like they ran out of money and they were about to shut down, and then they put like the rest of their 5,000, 10,000, 4,000, whatever it was, into these cardboard boxes. They bought cereal from like stores, put the cereal into these cardboard boxes that were like Obama O's, and but I know Obama O's was one of them. And then sold them via ads and made $100,000 and kept going, kept the business going. So I see it as a awesome indicator for y'all. That's great.
Well, it's funny. There's so many companies that at some point have been on the balls of their feet. And so of November of 2020, we had just made a whole lot of money personally from the, and by the way, like, our expenses were insane.
There's no, you're running, if that's, ad based, and you're buying the product and selling it. I know that top line is nothing. In relation to
it. Basically gave us enough money to survive for 2 years, probably.
Sure.
And so we just came off of this high of like, oh wow, we got a bunch of money. And so Pirani at that point had been nothing but a thorn in our side. And what I mean by thorn in our side is like, we tried everything. We spent so much money on ads the first 2 years. We hired these ad agencies. We spent money on SEO. We did everything that we thought we possibly could. And so November of 2020, COVID just finished that company, because we knew it was like a burn, coming in and get out. So just finished that company. Pirani, I think that year made like $45,000 or something. Yeah. And so in November, I told Danielle, I was like, listen, if by March we don't have something, by March of 2021, we don't have some sort of indicator that we should stay in business, I don't want to do this anymore. And so January, we were driving back from South Florida. I think we had just moved up here. So I think my car was still in South Florida. Went and visited family for the holidays. We were driving back and I was like, hey, I wonder if we should try to do this really big trade show that we had talked about doing the year before. And so, boy, am I glad we didn't do it the year before, because that means January, we would have sold a ton of stuff. And in March, every single order would have been canceled. Because of COVID. So we never...
And you'd have already made the purchase, like you'd have made assumptions on inventory needs
so January, I would have went into debt to buy inventory. So I'm glad we didn't do the trade show. Well, anyway, so January of 2021, COVID's already in effect. No one's going to cancel orders because they know what's going on. And so we were like, yeah, let's try. So we're driving back from Fort Lauderdale. We called the trade show people, normally a $5,000 booth. They were begging basically for people to come. So I think they give it to us for like $1,300 or $1,700, whatever it was. And we're like, all right, let's just, take a chance. We didn't have a booth. We got home, I don't know, Monday. Friday was the start of the show. So we literally built a booth out of our TV from our house, shelves that we had that we went and got painted. We went and made like pallet walls, and we went there. And then this was what kept us in business. Within the 5-day show, we did half of our sales from the year before in 5 days. Wow. And so, so we had definitely been in positions where we're like, let's give up. This is too much. So, yeah.
Dang.
Yeah.
Dang. Okay. So ads, it wasn't your first time running ads when you ran ads for this ultraviolet fog concept. When thinking about growth strategies, you have, cold email outreach, and you point back to the website, say, here's what we do, here's what we've done. You've seen this. You can see us in the wild. Advertising, you had less success than for that in the past, and enough to make you consider hanging up, your cleats, so to speak, with respect to the business. I am getting, so one of the tells that a infomercial is working is that it stays on TV, right? So like, is it making money? It's still on TV. So the product at least is making money. Yep. I have gotten Pirani ads for at least a handful of weeks at this point. Yep.
I would turn it off if I could, but I don't know how.
Are ads more effective these days than they have been in the past? How are you feeling in terms of growing direct to consumer?
Yeah. So I'm sure you're aware of the iOS 14 update for audience that's not. Basically, over the course of 3 months, social media ads like Instagram and Facebook went from being, efficiency of 70% or 80% to 5%. Like I heard companies that before the iOS update, they were doing $200,000 a month in sales, and it dropped to $20,000 with similar ad spend because of how efficient the ads were. And so we only ran ads really before the iOS update. One of my good friends runs ads for a living. All he does is Facebook and Instagram ads. That's it. Yeah. He works for Huggies. He works for big companies.
Wow.
And so he was like, hey, I want to take on your ads and run them. I was like, I also want you to take them on and run them. And he's like, this is going to be easy. I'm going to knock it out of the park.
Shooting fish in a barrel.
That's exactly it. And so 2 weeks in, he's like, yeah, I'm going to keep trying. Something's not working. A month in, I'm watching our bank account go down. I was like, what? I thought this was a fish in a barrel situation. And long story short, it just didn't work. And so we just tried and tried and tried. I actually spent 100 hours taking online courses to understand how Facebook ads work, how Google ads work. I ran the ads myself. We hired another agency. Nothing worked. And so we ended up just calling it quits for a long time. And about a month and a half ago, we started advertising again. Yeah. And the only reason we started advertising is we kind of found something that we know works. So working with influencers works really well for us. And it's actually exciting. So influencers live this perspectively glamorous life. Like you're looking from the outside. You don't know. There's all kinds of sob stories about the reality of influencers. But regardless, there's this one girl or woman that we work with. Her name is Brittany. She actually was on Shark Tank randomly. Her company's called Addison Wonderland. And so I reached out to her 5 months ago, and she was like, yeah, I guess I'd be interested in doing this. And so the way influencer marketing works is they get reached out to every day, and they have to pick and choose the products that they use. But typically, sadly, there's a reality that a lot of influencers aren't truly in love with the products that they're speaking about.
For sure.
Because they're just getting paid. It's a job.
Yeah.
There's a reality that influencer marketing is a job. And so I am okay with that because it's working for us. So I'm going to let them get paid to influence. The thing that's the most exciting is when this same influencer that has 200,000 followers, she charges $5,000 a post. She reaches back to us and says, hey, I use your cup every single day. I'm doing this trip for all, I think she's doing this cool trip with like 16 or 20 or 25 people where she's bringing them to Greece. And she's like, I want to use your product to give away as a gift to all of the people coming. And like, she works with some big companies.
Sure.
So to me, that's like the most rewarding. So the fact that so influencer marketing has really worked. We took the content from influencer marketing, we targeting the people that we know follow. And so there's a measurement called ROAS, return on ad spend. We're not profitable with our ads yet, but we used to average, like when we did really, really bad, like 2 years ago when I told you it failed. I mean, it would be not uncommon for us to be at like 0.1 ROAS, meaning every $10 we spend, we get $1 back in sales.
Brutal.
Yeah.
I mean, unless your return customer buys 100 times more than they did on their first order.
Yeah, no,
then it doesn't.
So we're trying to get to right now with where the iOS stuff is. If we could get to like 1.5, we'll be good. We're right at 1 right now. So it's only been a month, and that's by far the best we've ever done. And so I'm pretty happy with our ads right now. We need to keep doing stuff, and but and I'm doing myself, which is kind of exciting. So yeah.
Dang. Yeah. I mean, that sounds right. One of the questions I had was like, but your product is like, it's one thing when like it's a very inexpensive product. I can imagine that being particularly hard these days, trying to run ads to capture a customer and have that customer spend $15, right? Like that's, I don't know how people, that almost can't be the growth engine when the product's that type. But I mean, your 4-pack, like if the concept's like the 4-pack, all of a sudden you're like, all right, well there is
$100.
There's $100. There's something here that we can play with. Interesting.
Well, one thing that's kind of interesting is since we've started running ads, we've had significantly more purchases of 200 to, I mean, we have every once in a while we'll get an order for $500.
Yeah.
And so it is interesting that the ads are actually driving
bigger
purchases. So our average purchase value or average order value is $59 right now.
About 2.
Yeah. So about 2 and a quarter, something like that. And so the fact that we're selling like, a lot more $250 orders, I think that's how the ads are actually working. And I think that's what we're going to try to figure out, how to optimize the ads. Because then they're going to, the ads we run show how your cupboard can be converted. And so we want to get them people,
the whole house, get rid of everything.
Get rid of everything.
Donate it.
And then, so many people tell us, I bought one, I got rid of all my other cups, I only use Pirani, I've got 10.
A friend of mine owned a duffel bag business, and they had a concept in New York City specifically, but I'm sure all over, there are these bags that aren't particularly handsome called like banker bags, or what are effectively known as banker bags. Typically it's like canvas bag, and like the handles or whatever say like city, or whatever, like Goldman. And, the interns get them, the first year analysts get them. Yep. And so they made these beautiful bags, Hudson Sutler, beautiful bags, canvas bags. They did a effectively like a buyback program. It's like, get rid of your banker bags and we'll donate them. We'll get rid of them for you. And like somehow or another, like a donation-based campaign, get rid of this stuff, get rid of your chaos.
I like that.
And we'll redo your countertop, your cupboard space,
there's a mental perception.
There's something there.
So we're getting ready to buy a Sprinter van, and I have a Prius, and I'm like, well, I'm just going to get rid of the Prius, and I'll just drive the Sprinter van because it's going to have our branding all over it. And so there's this mental. It'll be nice to be like, okay, well, we're offsetting the cost of this big fancy Sprinter van by selling my car. And so even if it's not a huge thing, even if we give a buyback of like $10 for all of your old cups, there's this mental like
something.
Yeah. So
something. And
I like that.
And whether or not like, whether it's an influencer or some sort of affiliate, right? Like they execute it.
Yeah.
And it's their referral link, and they validated that you've donated these things.
Yep.
It's just interesting, and that's where my mind went. Where it's like, oh yeah, then obviously they'll buy 8.
Yeah,
forget about
exactly.
2. They'll buy, redo the whole house.
So our e-commerce is up 130% this year, and that's before the ads, by the way, because I know we just started, and we haven't spent that much on ads. Just so you know, it's like, I don't know. We've spent less than $5,000 this year on ads. Yeah. So getting ready to double it, which I'm nervous about, but double the monthly the daily spend. But so our e-commerce is up over 100% this year on its own, like organically. And so I think the music festivals are working, and so I think this Q4 is going to be very, very, very good for us because there are, I think this year, we've shipped 120,000 cups.
Wow.
Something like that.
Sick.
Yeah. And so 120,000, that's 120,000, even if retail, maybe we're at like 75 to 80,000 new customers that we've got this year that have our product. And so
it's great.
Yeah. We're up this year 108% for the year as well. So anyways,
and there's a lot of year left for those listening in the future. This is not September yet, right?
No.
So there's a lot of time left.
Yeah.
My 2 immediate questions. Website is on Shopify. We know that. You've done something pretty interesting, I think, with the ability to make bundles.
Yes.
Right. So is that a custom add-on? Did you take a tech and kind of plug it in?
Yeah, right now we're actually just using it's just a bundle builder or something.
Yeah.
And we're on the fence of whether we want to spend some money to customize it so that it's well branded and beautiful and works, because right now it's kind of janky. It's just out of the box. But it's proven itself. Like we get, I don't know, we probably get at least 1 to 2 bundles a day.
Yeah.
So yeah, we do okay with the bundle builders.
Yeah. It seems to me that there is an opportunity to like ramp your website into best practices e-commerce, so that like it's bundle baby bundles all day, like 2 more, say, get a free cup lid holder thing, right? Like
exactly.
A bunch of those different bells and whistles that you'll see, but I dig it.
One of the challenges we've had is, as I mentioned, we're a small team.
Yeah.
And so like every time we bring on a new project, it slows things down. And so we just went live on NetSuite, which is like
Solku. We've had Solku on. Yeah. We've had Solku on. Pros and cons of NetSuite, huh?
I'm excited for those pros. No, we've literally been live for 2 weeks on it. Okay. And so anyone you talk to will always tell you the first 6 months are miserable.
Yeah.
I have spent many late nights, hours and hours just grinding away of getting it working. But we have a mentor that's all he does is NetSuite development integration. And so he has been phenomenal.
Wow.
And he told me that, my background's in design. I've done tons of mechanical engineering. I've done electrical engineering and programming. Like I've done a lot of things. And I think at heart, I am just a problem solver. Like that's what industrial design and engineering do, do what they do. And so he said that he's launched like 200 companies on NetSuite. And he said that where we are in 2 weeks is better than any company he's ever worked with. So I'm pretty excited about that. Whether or not he's pulling my, I don't think he has any reason
Why would he lie about it?
We're pretty excited about that. But that has taken my attention from everything, pretty much this whole month. Like if you talk to anyone from my staff, they'll say Brandage, who I haven't seen him in a month. So
he's in the net.
He's in the net. So yeah,
brutal. Yeah. So NetSuite is the enterprise version of a back end product inventory management retail solution.
The easiest way I tell people is QuickBooks is great, but it's one part of a company. There's like before NetSuite, we had, I don't know, 10 different tools that all had to talk to each other, but they all talk different languages and they all talk at different times of the day and they all are trying to say something over top of somebody. Like it's just brutal. And so NetSuite replaces all of them. And then the biggest thing is like, you think about what NetSuite does is it is the most customizable tool that will allow you to get to the point where you're doing, like it's designed for companies that are doing $1 billion a year.
Yeah, more, yeah.
Or more. And so our company is not doing $1 billion, but the last thing we want to do is be doing $30 million in QuickBooks and then
try and transition.
My sister worked for a company. My sister worked for a company and they do like $20 million a year, and they got bought. And they said that to transition, there's some things that aren't being told because it's more detailed. But long story short, it's a 5-year transition.
Oh, for sure.
So.
Yeah, I mean, it seems insane. Like to your point, there are certain things that are effectively one-way ratchets, and it's like you don't all of a sudden cut 1% of your revenue year 10. Like it doesn't hurt as bad.
Yeah.
That a month today versus 5 years, 10 years from now.
Yep. It's funny you mentioned Solku. So one of the founders from Solku is our mentor, one of our mentors in a program that we're in, and she, about 4 months ago, I was chatting with about our situation with NetSuite, and I started telling her what we're doing and how we're doing it, and she was like, "That's not possible." And I'm like, "I promise it's possible." I actually have learned so much more since then, and even more. Like they still use like middleware sometimes, and we just completely got rid of almost every middleware tool, and now we just do, it's called like webhook and API calls, and so now all of our ShipStation integration is done through API. It's fantastic, and they do not do that. I know they use a program called Celigo, and Celigo is great, but it's like $20,000 a year. So yeah, I don't know how much it is for them, but I know it can be. It can be $20,000.
Yeah,
so.
And that's just a middleman. Imagine. Dang.
Yeah.
Okay, so the website, I had a feeling that bundles was going to be a big part.
Yes.
Talk to me about the future. Q4 is going to be a great quarter. October, we're announcing product or new product.
Going live on Kickstarter.
That'll be when ideal ship. When would people see it? 2024.
There is a
small chance Christmas,
but we will not promise Christmas. I'll lean heavy on my factory, and they bend over backwards for us. So I'll lean on them to tell me what's doable before we launch, and then we'll.
So it's going to be an honest Kickstarter. It's not. It's not like a purchase order's already in. We're doing it.
No, because we have to. I mean, the tooling for this is going to be $30,000, and so like we could spend the money on the tooling, like we can afford to do the tooling, but then we wouldn't be able to afford the inventory or whatever. So we're definitely. I mean, the middle of the Kickstarter, we'll have a pretty good indication of what we should do, and I'll have the purchase order in probably within the first week of the Kickstarter, because you can kind of see where things are going.
Kickstarters look like the shape of a U, right? So it's like big first day if you did it right, final push on the last day, and
everything
then
goes flat.
There's this lonely period in the middle where it's like are the ads working?
Yes.
Have our emails been blocked? Are they going to spam? Like what is happening? And then all of a sudden, bang. And anyone who has a, trend line that's different than that, it's only because their first day was awesome. And then like there's a little bump of like PR or Kickstarter add you to their email on Friday or like, but it's not necessarily standard. You have a good first day if you did it right, and then a good last push because you've pestered people for several weeks and they're like, all right, I'll buy. Fine. You're right.
I think a lot of them look like lowercase cursive R's.
Yeah.
Or maybe not cursive, maybe lowercase non-cursive R. So just like a little, it's just like a hump. I don't know what that curve is called. But anyways.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's true.
So things that we've got coming, as I mentioned, we aren't in the West Coast. So fingers crossed, and I don't know if they'll hear this or not, but it's kind of exciting. Asheville's a tiny town.
Yeah.
But there's a rep group, a group of sales reps on the West Coast that we're trying to work with. Yeah. And we've been trying to work with them we've been kind of like secretly trying to work with them. We've been like slipping them hints, but they didn't come from us type thing. And so randomly that rep group, who's probably the best rep group in all of the West Coast, or one of the top 3 at least, Solku's in it, Poppy's in it, French Broad Chocolate's in it.
Yeah, wow.
And so if they pick up Pirani, there will literally be 4 companies from the entire United States out of 40. So 10% of their line will be from Asheville.
Yes. Small town.
Nestled
in the heart of the Blue Ridge Mountains.
Yeah.
Yeah. that would really be something.
It'd be crazy.
We've talked a lot about rep groups earlier in the season. If that concept is new to you, Solku is a good example. But a bunch of episodes we've talked about rep groups. That's exciting.
Yeah.
And so we're close. It's not no ink.
So I have met the owner once 2 years ago, and he said, get out of my office, basically. And I was like, okay, we're small. I get it. And then I haven't said anything to him since, but the 2 rep groups that we're in 3, 2 of them are very, very well respected, and they know everybody. And so I was like, I think I'm ready to shoot this guy an email. I haven't talked to him. I haven't done anything. So I sent the owner an email, and 15 minutes later, I get a call from one of our rep groups, the principal of the rep group. And she's like, hey, Matt reached out. I told him nothing but great things. I was like, well, thank you. I appreciate that. And then he emailed and he's like, hey, I want to have a call. So we had a call for, I don't know, an hour and a half. And he said he's going to share it with his team. I've already been slipping hints to his team already. I'm hoping that like, I know 4 or 5 of the team members already use Piranis. So there's not much more that I can do. If he doesn't want to do it, then that's not, I can't do anything else for it. So,
okay. Awesome. So rep group, new product, Kickstarter.
Yep. And then something that's big is, so the festival we just came from, it was a pretty small festival. There was, 12 or 15,000 people, relatively speaking, a small festival. But I made some really good connections. And so like, we're hoping that we can get into things like Lollapalooza or Bonnaroo or Summerfest. Like those are things that we're working. And I think there's a good chance because we're starting to get a really good reputation for how we work with the festivals.
Love it.
And once you get a good reputation and once you deliver, they don't want to change. It's not worth the headache. They want turnkey. They want to say, Pirani, I need 20,000 cups, done. And that's it. That's the conversation.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what we've been doing with them. So yeah. I mean, on our end, it's been a little more chaotic.
My goodness,
but
I can only imagine.
Yeah. So that's a big part of it. And then we're going to be launching into the golf channel in January. So we're going to be doing PGA show, which is a big, oh my God, it's expensive. It's the most expensive trade show that we will have done. It's triple the cost of any other trade show.
Wow.
So like a 10 by 10 normally is like I said, that one, it was
1,700.
17 is what we paid, but normally it's like $4 or $5 grand. Their 10 by 10 is like 16 grand. So yeah, very expensive.
Wow. Big difference. When, so I mean, I think when you talk about customer types, it also makes some sense, right? Like who of us spends more discretionarily?
Yeah. I mean, and we've already sold to the PGA. They've already bought. I think they bought like 600 cups from us for the PGA Senior Tour.
Cool.
I don't know if that's what it's called, but something like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, dang. Million questions. How would people find you on the internet to follow along and be a part of this next Kickstarter?
So you can go to our website. It's pirani.life. That's pirani.life, no .com. I always tell people we've spent a lot of money on SEO. So if you just search vacuum insulated red Solo cup, will be the number one that is there. If you type in stackable insulated tumbler, we're probably like number 3 because Amazon's got a lot of SEO money.
Yes.
And theirs isn't even, it's just like plastic crap. But
Sure.
yeah. So, but pirani.life is the easiest way to find us.
And we'll have links on all of the different pages and show notes page.
We are launching on Amazon after 2 years of back and forth, but we are launching probably October 1st. We'll do like a soft launch, and then January 1st they'll do, it's like an official launch. So we have we're part of a program that is, you can't apply for. Amazon has to contact you. And so they contacted us and they said, hey, why aren't you selling on our website? Naturally, because they want their pennies from everyone. And we're like, I don't know. So we said no for like the first year. And they're like, hey, we want you to be on this program. We're like, no. They're like, we want you to be on this more exclusive program. And we're like, no. And they're like, okay, well, this is an invite only thing. So anyways, I don't even know what it's called. They don't even have a name for it. Like,
wow.
What is this program called? They're like,
well,
I don't know.
The Facebook version of what I'm hearing you say of that has been apparently exceptionally good to the businesses that are in that small group. So
that little cohort or whatever.
Yeah, I would say based on this season's guests, Amazon can be a brutal kind of partner, but this version of Amazon sounds pretty exciting.
Yeah. And we're not going to do it ourselves.
Sure.
So we have a company that's going to manage it for us.
Yeah.
All they do is that. And so, as I mentioned, I don't have time on a regular basis as is. And so we're just going to pay a company it's a percentage of sales.
Yeah.
But yeah.
2024 is going to be very interesting, huh?
Our goal is to double again next year.
As well.
And that is, we should be able to double without any fundraising. If we do get some fundraising, which we've been trying for a while, but it's an awkward time of the world, and
maybe not. What is the fundraising target?
So we are trying to raise $1 million.
Okay.
We've got like 4 people lined up, but we're trying to get a couple more lined up so that when we do it overnight, overnight we go from not having fundraising to having at least half of our fund ask.
Yeah.
So then, because if you raise $50,000 and you're trying to raise $1 million, it's not going to be easy to raise the rest of the $950,000.
Understood.
But if we have $600,000 raised,
that target's one.
Target's one. Everybody's gonna be like, oh well, it'll be easy. It should be a lot easier to raise the other.
Well, if you'd like an intro to Brondage, reach out to me. I'd love to help facilitate this. I think it's super exciting. I will offline click into that more. Potentially think about a version of the Making It in Asheville podcast where we get into numbers more aggressively than we ever had. If that's interesting to you, listener, reach out. Let me know, because your guys are onto something. The product's wonderful. The track record speaks for itself at this point. Very excited. So links to all things Pirani will be on the website on our show notes page for this episode. Cannot wait to see the product that drops via Kickstarter what happens in 2024. So thank you for being on the show.
And something I was going to say is we'll create a coupon code for your audience. It'll be 10 or probably 15% off. Awesome. That's probably what we'll do. And it'll be, I don't know what the domain, but it'll be
links will be
in the
show notes. We'll make sure that you know, because you've listened all the way to the cheap seats of this episode, to the nosebleed section, to the waning minutes. You specifically will have a discount, and we'll make that as available and as public as possible. That's so awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
Sure.